In this lesson, we're going to look at graphing parabolas, ones that open up and down or are vertical, and then also ones that open right and left that are called horizontal. First, I want to start with the definition. It says a parabola is the set of all points equidistant from a line called the directrix, and a point inside the parabola called the focus. Here we have the two equations for our two parabolas. This one says y equals a quantity x minus h squared plus k. We are probably familiar with this one. The parabola will either open up or down depending on if a is positive or negative. If a is positive, the parabola opens up. If a is negative, the parabola opens down. And the vertex is going to be h comma k. So you take whatever's inside the quantity squared and set it equal to 0. That will give you your x coordinate of the vertex, and then this plus k out here, drop it down, that's your y coordinate of the vertex. Then you have your horizontal parabolas. These are going to be new for us. It says x equals a, and then quantity y minus k squared plus h. So anytime you have y squared and then just an x, your parabola is going to open right or left. So that's important. Y squared, when the y is squared, your parabola is going to be horizontal, open right or left. The vertex is h comma k. You take what's at the end and drop it right into the x coordinate. So you take that h and drop it right in, and then whatever's inside the quantity squared with the y, set that equal to 0, solve, and you'll get your y coordinate of the vertex k. If a is positive, the parabola will open right. If a is negative, the parabola will open left. A equals 1 over 4d, that's important, highlight it. We're going to use that to solve, to find different parts of the parabola. Okay, this example says identify the vertex of each parabola, whether it's vertical or horizontal, and which way it opens. So first step, the vertex. We're going to take whatever's inside. So right here we have y plus 7, set it equal to 0, and you get that y equals negative 7. So that's going to be the y part of the vertex. And then you take this other number and then you just drop it right in for the x coordinate. This parabola, because it's x equals and y is squared, you can see the y quantity squared. Since the y is squared, it's going to be a horizontal parabola. And finally, you're going to look at the number in front of the y squared, and because that value is negative, this parabola, because it's horizontal, is going to open left. Okay, next example, y equals 4 quantity x minus 1 squared plus 7. So first step, we're going to find the vertex. So you take what's inside the parentheses squared and set that equal to 0. You get x equals 1. So you're going to put that in the x coordinate of the vertex. And then take the other number and you're going to drop it right in for the y part of the vertex. Because this is a y equals and x is squared this time, it's going to be a vertical parabola. And we're going to look right in front. This value is our a value. It's positive, so this parabola will open up. Okay, so first step, I want to isolate the x. So we're going to take this quantity and subtract it over. So you get 3x equals negative y plus 5 quantity squared. And then there's already a 6, so we'll go plus 6. And then you're going to divide both sides of the equation by 3. So you get x equals negative 1/3 quantity y plus 5 squared. And then don't forget you're also dividing the 6 by 3, so you get 2. So now that we have it in a nice standard form, we can see the vertex. Take what's inside here. Set it equal to 0, you get y equals negative 5. So you're going to put that in the y coordinate on the vertex, negative 5. And then drop the other number right in for the x part of that vertex. Because this is an x equals and the y is squared, it's going to be a horizontal parabola. And the number in front of the squared part is your A. A in this case is negative, so it's going to, because it's horizontal, it's going to open left. This example says to graph y equals 1/8 quantity x minus 5 squared plus 2. The vertex, we're going to take what's inside here and we're going to set it equal to 0. You get x equals 5. So your vertex is going to be 5, comma, and then you take this other number and drop it right in. So 5, comma 2. Go ahead and plot that point over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to. And because this says y equals and the x is squared, this is going to be a vertical parabola. The a value right in front is positive, so it's going to open up. And what I like to do on the parabola, because of that vertex and we know it's going to open up, I like to draw the axis of symmetry. So I'm going to draw a dotted line going through the vertex. And we'll get to the actual graph in just a second. But first we're going to use that formula a equals 1 over 4d. Your a, again, it's in front of the x squared, so it's a 1/8. We're going to plug that in for a and set that equal to 1 over 4d. So right now we have a proportion, 1 fraction equals 1 fraction, so you're allowed to cross multiply. If you just see this and you can see that since 1/8 equals 1 over 4d, some people will just quickly go, oh, d is 2. If that gets confusing when it's not a nice integer, you can always cross multiply and then actually solve for d. So d is 2, we're going to fill that in right here where it says d equals. And what we're going to do from the vertex, so I'm going to label this v for the vertex. The value you get for d, because this is positive, you're going to go from the vertex along the axis of symmetry, we're going to go up 2. That's going to be our focal point, so label that F. So you started at the vertex, because the d we found was a positive 2, we went up 2, plot the new point along that axis of symmetry, and that's your focus. And then what you're going to do next is the focal point is going to be the center of the 2 additional points on the parabola. And what you do from the focus, you take this value d, so this value is really important, and you double it. So again, you're going to double the d, which is going to be 4, and you go out 1, 2, 3, 4 from the focus, and the other direction 1, 2, 3, 4. So you take d and double it, and that's how far you go out from the focus. And that gives you additional points on your parabola. And so we're graphing this parabola using only 3 points, so that's kind of nice. And then there's also a line called the Directrix that we kind of defined in the very top of the notes. From the vertex, you're going to go back to, again, it's still from the same value. We're going to go back to and draw a horizontal line right here, and that's called the Directrix. And let's go ahead and label or fill in some of this chart. So the focus, it is along that axis of symmetry, so it's going to have the same x value as the axis of symmetry, which is x equals 5. The focus, again, will have that same coordinate, but if you look, it's up 1, 2, 3, 4, so it's 5, 4. Notice when x equals 5, the focus has an x value of 5, and the vertex also has an x value of 5, so those will all stay the same. Your directrix is on this problem on the x-axis, so that's y equals 0. And then we're going to label these 2 points. So this is over 1, up 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the other point looks like it's over, is that 9? Up 4 as well. In this example, we have y equals negative 1/12, quantity x plus 2 squared plus 4. Because the x is squared and you just have a y equals, this is going to be a vertical parabola again. The vertex, you take the inside that's quantity squared and set that equal to 0. So you get x equals negative 2. Take this other number and drop it right in. That's going to be your 4. So our vertex is negative 2 comma 4. I'm going to plot that, negative 2, and then up 1, 2, 3, 4. Label it. And go ahead and draw your axis of symmetry going right through the vertex. Let's look at the A value. The A is negative, so because this is a vertical parabola, it's going to open down. Next, let's solve for D. So we're going to use A equals 1 over 4D. A is negative 1/12. And you have your proportion. Again, you can cross multiply, or we can look at this and say negative 1/12 equals 1 over 4 times D. Therefore, D must equal negative 3. So our D value is negative 3. So from your vertex, because the D is negative, we're going to go down 3. 1, 2, 3, and label that. That's going to be your focus. Then you're going to take the D value, you're going to double it, and from the focus, you're going to go out, because we're going to double 3, we're going to get 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in both directions. So start back at the focus and go 6 to the left. And there's your parabola. The last thing we need is the directrix. So from the vertex, you're going to go back in the other direction, using that same value 3. So we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, and draw a line that's horizontal. So let's fill in our chart. Our focus is negative 2 up 1. Your axis of symmetry is an x equals, because it's a vertical line, so that's x equals negative 2. And again, your axis of symmetry matches your x value of your focus and the x value of your vertex. The directrix is this line back here, so we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's y equals 7. And finally, we're going to label these additional points. So this point right here is negative 8 up 1. And this other point, let's see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, comma 1. First thing we're going to do is rewrite this equation. We want to get the x all by itself, so we're going to subtract the 16 first. And then divide both sides of the equation by 8. Don't forget to divide the 16 also, the negative 16 by 8. Now that the equation is in standard form, we have x equals 1/8, quantity y minus 1 squared minus 2. So to find the vertex, we're going to take what's inside here and we're going to set it equal to 0. So you get y equals 1. So on our vertex, your y is 1. Take the other number on the side, the negative 2, we're going to drop it right in for the x part of the vertex. Because this is an x equals and the y is squared, it's going to be a horizontal parabola. Here's your A. A is positive because this is a horizontal parabola. That means it's going to open right. I'm going to plot the vertex, negative 2 up 1. And this is our first example of graphing where our parabola is horizontal. So this time your axis of symmetry goes still through the vertex, but it's now horizontal. And I'm going to label my vertex. Next, we're going to solve for d. So we're still using the same formula, a equals 1 over 4d. Your a is 1/8, so 1/8 equals 1 over 4d. So that means that d is 2. So from our vertex, along the axis of symmetry, we're going to move 2 to the right. Because we know this parabola opens right, you take your d that's 2, and that's going to give you your focus. Then we're going to take our d and double it. So 2 double is going to be 4. You start at your focus and you go out 4, opposite direction as your axis of symmetry. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 right there. And then in the other direction from the focus, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that gives you your additional points. And then finally your directrix from the vertex, you're going to go in the other direction away from the focus, and we're going to go 2 and draw your line. This time it's a vertical line, and let's fill in everything. So our axis of symmetry is up, it's a horizontal line, so it's up y equals 1. And again, the axis of symmetry will match your, since it's a y equals, on your vertex, your y is 1, and then your focus will also have the same height, y1. The focus is actually 0, 1. And finally, my directrix. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. It was an x equals -4. And our additional points are right here. They're 0. Let's do the bottom one first. So 0, -3. And then the other one is 0 and up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This example says x equals -1/10, quantity y plus 1 squared minus 3. Because it's an x equals and the y is squared, it's going to be a horizontal parabola. We're going to take what's inside the quantity squared again and set it equal to 0. So you get y equals -1, and that's going to give you the y coordinate of your vertex. And then you're going to take the other value that's at the end, the -3, we're going to drop it in. That's going to be the x part of our vertex. So our vertex is -3 and down 1. Let's label that V. Because it's a horizontal parabola, you're going to draw a horizontal axis of symmetry. And let's label our axis of symmetry, that's a y equals -1. So now we know that our focus is also going to have a y equals -1, just like the vertex. Next, we're going to solve for d. So a equals 1 over 4d. Make sure you memorize that equation. Our a is in front. A is -1/10. This would be one of those cases where I would probably cross multiply and actually solve this. So when we cross multiply, you get -4d equals 10. Divide out the -4 from both sides, and that gives us that d equals negative, and then we'll reduce this by 2, so -5/2. So let's fill that in. D is -5/2. It's again a horizontal because the A is negative. That means your parabola is going to open, because it's horizontal, we're going to open left. And on our graph, we're going to move -5/2. In a mixed number, it's going to be -2 1/2. So from the vertex along the axis of symmetry, we're going to go left 1, 2 1/2. That's going to be our focal point. And then to get our additional points on the parabola, we're going to double this. So when you double 2 1/2, what does that get us to? 5. So we're going to go 5 in both directions away from the axis of symmetry in the opposite direction. So from the focus, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to do the same thing in the other direction. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there is your parabola opening left. And finally, the directrix goes in from the vertex along the axis of symmetry. We're going to go the opposite direction, 1, 2.5, and draw our, this time, vertical line. This line, the directrix, is getting kind of hard to see here, but it's at a -1/2. So we're going to say x equals -1/2. And then these additional points, they're both, I'm going to count it out, -1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5, -5.5. And then this point down here, it's down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the other point, also -5.5 for the x coordinate, but this time it's up 1, 2, 3, 4. I just realized I didn't finish my focal point. That was also -5.5 for the x, and then down 1. Write the equation of the parabola in standard form, and you're given the graph of the parabola. So I'm going to label the vertex. The vertex is -4, 1. This is going to be the focal point, so we're going to label that F. And to stay consistent with what we've been doing, I'm also going to draw in the axis of symmetry so I can see it. That axis of symmetry is y equals 1. And let's make a note, the distance from the vertex to the focal point is 2. So that's your D. D is 2. Also, this parabola is opening right, so it's a horizontal parabola. It's going to have an equation that's an x equals. In front of your quantity squared is going to be our A. And right here, A is 1 over 4D, and we just identified that D is 2. So A is 1 over 4 times 2, or 1/8. And then finally, the vertex, because this is a y that's being squared, your vertex has a y of 1, so we're going to put in a -1, put in the opposite. And then you're going to take this -4 and drop it at the end. So there's our equation. X equals 1/8, quantity y minus 1 squared minus 4. This last example says a parabola has a vertex at 1, 2 and a focal point at -3, 2. Write its equation in standard form. So what I like to say is, if in doubt, graph it out. We're going to plot the points over 1 up 2 and label that the vertex. It says, again, the focal point is -3, 2, so -1, 2, 3, up 2. So you can see that this parabola, because there's the vertex and there's the focal point, if I drew a generic parabola, it's opening left, so it is horizontal. So we're going to go x equals, and then set it up with the y being squared. And in front is A equals 1 over 4D. The distance from the vertex to the focal point, let's just count it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's to the left, so we're going to plug in D is -4. So you get -1/16. It says the vertex is 1, 2, so we're going to put this y that's 2 and drop it in, but opposite. And then the x is 1, so we're going to put a +1 at the end. There's your equation. X equals -1/16, quantity y minus 2 squared plus 1.